voices coming from the inside of me, yeah. Like doing things I find hard to believe in. Am I myself or am I dreaming? I've been awake for an hour or so, checking for a pulse, but I just don't know. Am I a man when I feel like a ghost? A stranger in the mirror is wearing my clothes. No, I'm not alright. I know that I'm not right. The steering wheel don't mean it can drive.
I think we are live. What's going on, internet world? 8 million people around the world checking for us. Hey guys, here's another live episode of Uncommon Men. And so much fun, guys. Thank you for joining us. If you're enjoying the journey, I think we're on episode 5. Please share, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be a part of this family, be a part of this movement. The Uncommon train is not stopping, so just jump on. And hey, man, I got a lot of things on my mind tonight, but I want to go ahead and introduce my partner, not in crime, but in liberation, Mr. Dan Putnam, visionary leader behind this Uncommon movement. Dan, how you feeling, my brother?
Man, fantastic, Clavon. A lot of great things going on, and couldn't be more excited to just, keep this going on. And again, one simple goal, and I think that's one of the things I like the most about it is our vision's crystal clear. We just want to help as many men as we possibly can, or males, age 16 and up, live the life of their dreams, realize what they're capable of, and don't settle for less. And we realize in order to reach your goals, reach your dreams, there has to be opportunity present. But in addition to that opportunity, you have to have the right mentors, you have to have the right guidance, you have to have the right accountability partners, and all of those things in order to reach the top in this game we call life. And really, that's what I'm passionate about, is painting the picture so that people can believe in themselves again. Clavon, I don't think about it often, but every now and again, I do think about it. And I think one of the saddest things in life is an adult human being that's given up on themselves, that's just accepted that this is what they're going to be, this is where they're going to be, and nothing else is going to happen for them. And really what the Uncommon movement is all about is getting people to dream again, getting people to believe in themselves, and really providing that opportunity, that mentorship, that guidance, that accountability to keep them on track and help them be successful. And as you know, the reason we started this podcast is we know that one of the most proven success principles is the fact that success leaves clues. And so we're constantly bringing on uncommon men, people that have had success in many aspects of life, not only financial. Financial success is one thing, but if it really break it down, and if somebody is going to say, Dan, what do you believe success is? I definitely wouldn't say financial. I'm sure you'd agree, Clavon, that there's many people with almost unlimited wealth that aren't happy at all. So I think that there's a big combination of what truly creates success. I think it's a combination of having your health, having enough finances to be comfortable, and really at the end of the day, it's about being happy with where you're at. And so that's really what we're after. And I think that as people continue to watch, again, this is episode 5, but once they get to episode 25 or episode 50 or 500, I think they're going to see that, man, a lot of these people in these interviews have a lot of things that they have in common. Not everything. There's always that individuality that people have that makes them them. But I think if you just look at you'll start to notice some traits that all of these successful people have, and it's not by luck. It's really something that anybody can do, but you have to have, again, that opportunity. You You have to have the mentorship, and again, you have to have the desire also. It's not just going to happen by accident. But I'm excited, Clavon,
Yeah.
and let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, well, before we bring up Mr. Johnson, I just want to be clear that, I feel like it's been a life-changing journey to be a part of this uncommon movement. Because, Dan, I know that I'm a reflection of mentorship. If it wasn't for great mentors from fathers and father figures, mentors in the community, I just don't even think I would be who I am today. And to be able to highlight mentors of all men, of all ethnicities, all cultures, all backgrounds, and use them as a seed of inspiration, for our movement, especially to inspire the youth. I can't think of anything more noble, more powerful. And when I shared the vision with Mr. Myles Johnson, it wasn't, we were getting to know each other, and he'll tell a story. It wasn't the seven figures of entrepreneurial and career income he had amassed. It wasn't, being a renowned author, all these things that we'll talk about, and having homes all over the country. It was his desire to pour into the youth. And
I love it.
And then it's on its book, and we'll flash it up. But this is a gentleman who is absolutely uncommon, a man that I've grown to have tremendous amount of respect for. He has a great story, and he's just a leader. He knows the tech space very well. But without further ado, I'm going to let him tell his story. Let's bring up Mr. Myles Johnson, our special guest for this evening. Mr.
Hey,
Johnson, feeling, partner?
good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'd like to thank you and Dan for having me have this platform this evening. And Dan, you were spot on with a lot of things that you just said. And I just kind of got to go back to what you said for success. For me, success is being able to make a difference in someone's life, man. And that's true power right there when you can take some energy and show examples and just be there. I mean, so we get so wrapped up and for us the dream and the journey you guys are talking about. It's just I'm getting chills over here just kind of listening to you guys because again, some people it just disheartens me when I hear people. It is what it is, or things of those natures. It's a mindset, man. You got to have the right words, the right mindset, and again, the people around you that's pushing you and driving you, and when I hear about uncommon, first thing that comes to mind is I think of a couple of things like ordinary and extraordinary. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that extra, right? And it's just so simple when you kind of put it together. And so uncommon to me is that it's a path less traveled, man. And I've learned in my life being uncommon, sometimes you have to go down paths and do certain things that allow you to reach your, pillars and professionally, financially, health wise. And it's important that we understand that, everybody, you have to have that mindset. It's not just, talking about it. It's just, like I say, the people that are around you that energize you, that light and that energy. And I found that the more I gave, the more came back to me. So I just again, this is just a great platform and an opportunity for me to just kind of share some of the things that I've been a part of and been blessed to be a part of.
Awesome.
Wow. I love that. And I heard one time that you'll never go poor by giving. And so I love that concept that you were talking about that, I really do believe that a big part of life is helping others. I think that we're all going to have struggles in different areas. And I think that's part of life, but we're not born and put here to struggle. I think we're, as human beings, I think we're designed to overcome and learn. And one of the best ways that we can learn is through other people's experience and things like that. And that's really why we put together the podcast and the things that we're doing, just so people have the opportunity to learn from others. But I
Exactly.
love what you said about helping others. I couldn't agree more.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Hey, Myles,
Yes.
I probably want to just start off by asking you, one or two questions.
Okay.
And I just want to kind of get a little insight on your background and
Okay.
where you were born. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and we'll be able to kind of go right to your book. From your background up to you bring up.
Okay.
I want to put your book up, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Dan.
Okay. Well, myself again, man. I'm humble beginnings. Myself. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, west side of Chicago. Just my family, my mom and dad, they poured a lot into us as children about education. Education being our passport to the future. So they always, even though we might have not had much, but there was food on the table. My mom and dad worked hard, and again, the idea was that uh, opportunities through education. And my dad always said to us that, right is right, wrong is wrong, So we looked at life in those ways. And he always stressed order, having order, having discipline. And again, another word that Dan used is dreams. I'm big into dreams and having those dreams. Some people dare not to dream, and sometimes as individuals we settle. And it's okay to dream, and even if you fall short, at least you give it that opportunity to get out there and give it all you got in regards to that. So again, for as again, born and raised in Chicago, kind of went through school. As a young age, I always thought about being an entrepreneur. So I started off young. Had a couple real estate properties. I invested in a couple 4 unit buildings. I was a broker, started off in real estate, but again, my passion was education. And so kind of went back to college, finished up my degree in management information systems, got recruited by IBM, which kind of propelled me into the IT space. And so that allowed me to actually leave Chicago, and I had opportunities all over the country just by, presenting myself, being willing to be open and learning and just embracing, people. So it took me to Denver, and again, IBM was a great company, but it was a burning desire within me to be an entrepreneur. So I had an opportunity. Again, life is short, and so it was a transition. My dad was kind of, his health was failing. And so I just took it upon myself to take that opportunity, that leap, walking by faith, not by sight. Started an IT company. Fortunately, a lot of drive and success behind that, 20 years of having my own IT company, raising my family, my boys, all that good stuff.
Hey,
And
Myles,
yes,
let me jump in there because I don't want to lose this moment.
yes.
Very powerful moment. Can you describe for me, please, a little bit of details of what a man goes through mentally and emotionally when he's taking a jump, a leap from corporate security to the unknown world of and responsibilities of entrepreneurship? That courage. Just
Mm-hmm.
talk about those dynamics when everyone may be telling you what you should do, and you got. I mean, what's it all about?
Well, again, that goes back to again it goes back to some of the things I was taught as a young man. But the biggest thing that I understand that was going to be a road less traveled. There was going to be opposition. There was going to be people saying, "Hey, you got a good job. You things are moving in the right direction." But again, I always felt, and I always wanted more, and I always felt like as I got older, I understand that in life, I never wanted to get cheated out of life. So I wanted to give it all that I had. And when that opportunity rose, I just took it as, I'm not looking back. Again, sometimes, again, it's all about faith and not necessarily what you see. And so it really starts now we're talking about the book. We're talking about what starts within, right? And you have to have that belief within you, whatever you choose. And again, Dan had another great comment about success, these bits and pieces. And I think success is an equation. You got a lot of things, perseverance, you got hard work. It doesn't come easy. There's a lot of things incorporated in success, but I really truly think it's an equation. And if you put these things in that equation, most time good things come out of there. And so it and again it's a mindset of just hey, giving it all you got and believing in oneself. And and at the end of the day, it's an unbelievable feeling and satisfaction when you can say, I've had a dream, and my thought was always working towards my passion, turning dreams into reality.
That's pretty
One
amazing.
thing a couple questions I have, Clavon, and a couple things that I want to bring out. One of the things that he was talking about, investing into real estate fairly early on and getting some I don't remember if it was apartments or duplexes that he talked about. So
Hmm.
I'll maybe swing back to that and find out a little bit more information on that. But
Hmm.
the question, so when you're working for IBM, just kind of what most people would kind of think is the American dream. You go to
Hmm.
school, you get a degree, you go
Hmm.
get a job at a big company with probably a decent salary, and then
Hmm.
you decide to take the risk as Clavon brought out and start your own business. When you started, did did was business great right from the beginning? Did you have some dark times? Did you have some times that you're thinking, man, what in the world did I get myself into? Or how was that road for you once you finally left,
Hmm.
started your own company? Just give us a little bit on that trail to success. It sounds like over time it
Hmm.
was successful, but I was just
Yeah.
curious if it was successful
Yeah.
right away
Oh,
or if you
yeah.
had some doubts creep in.
Oh, absolutely, Dan. And that's part of the process. That's part of the journey, right? There was days, and again, as a man with a family and a wife and kids, and just kind of betting on myself. Yeah, of course, there were some moments and times where I wasn't making the money that I was, and again, not so much making that money, but you know how when you work for an organization, company, you know you're going to get paid on that Friday or that 15th of the month or however it is set up. But again, when you start working for yourself, that it allows you, really to dig deep within you. And so I was fortunate within my organ company. It was a business to business organization, and so I dealt with business owners, and I would hear their stories, everyday, ordinary stories. And so, I mean, I got a great story I can share with you guys. It was a friend of mine. This guy was from Korea, and so we called him Mr. Burger King, right? And so this guy came over here to the States, and he worked in 7-Eleven, and at night, he would do the custodian, mop the floors, and do all these menial jobs that most people we go in there and we look at these guys and probably don't give them pay any attention. But the guy had an opportunity to become a manager, and then he got into the franchise program at 7-Eleven, and then he from there again. This guy bought a Burger King, and by the time I met him, we were playing golf. He owned 22 Burger Kings, and so just by looking at this guy, saying, "Hey man, wow, you was able to succeed like that." He said, "Man, it was just hard work, determination, and just when you hear those guys' stories, it's like, man, it's unbelievable. And so it gives you a light, right? A power. It's like, man, so when people go in these stores, and again, I'm hoping paint up. You go in there tomorrow and you go see a guy in the back of 7-Eleven, or you go see a guy at King Super, just doing the job. But you still have to have that within you and want to say, I want to do better, and understanding that you can achieve anything you once you put your mind to it.
Oh,
So
I love it, and I couldn't agree more. It reminds me of a story I'll tell just really quick. A good friend of mine, his uncle came to the U.S. Through Canada, originally from India, and the only job he could find was just at a kind of a mid-level, kind of a fast food restaurant,
hmm.
but it also has a sit-down place, and he just started working there. Had never done it before. Obviously, you don't need a whole bunch of experience to go work at a fast food restaurant,
Hmm.
but he's just started to learn and learn and learn and save up every single thing that he could. And within a couple of years, started his own restaurant, not a
Hmm.
franchise, his own,
Hmm.
but literally put together a lot of the similar recipes and stuff like that,
Exactly.
just what he learned. And now he's got just a massive business worth literally tens of millions of dollars, and started with nothing except for just the vision of, hey, I'm going to accept where I'm at right now,
Exactly.
because I don't have any other options, but
Hmm.
I'm going to continue to dream. I'm going to continue to push, and that's one of the things that I talk a lot about. It doesn't matter your current situation as
Hmm.
long as you haven't accepted it. And I think that's kind of that situation. Okay, I'm mopping the floors at 7-Eleven, but I'm sure if we had him on the podcast, and maybe we will in the future.
Yeah.
I bet you he was thinking that one day I'm going to own my
Exactly.
own, and then
Exactly right.
other people are mopping the floor and think, I get off in 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
And,
Exactly. Right.
and
Exactly
not
right.
really seeing that. Oh man, yeah, I'm
This
mopping
is
the
a
floor
step.
now.
This is a step. This
Give
is
me
a
a few
step to
years.
something else. Exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yes.
love it.
Hey, let me ask you something. Miss Murphy, can we get Mr. Johnson's book to flash up on the screen for just a second?
Okay. All right.
We can see it, Miles. We'll bring it down in 1 second. But Michael
Okay.
Johnson, the Kingmaker, making our men into kings through self-love. Making our men into kings through self-love. The Kingmaker. That's awesome. Hey, Dan, you want to, can you see the correlation of his vision and what we got with Uncommon Male 16 and above? Just from that tagline, man. Phenomenal. Dan, I know you got a lot of questions for Miles, but what was the inspiration for that piece? And we
Mhm.
just you gotta just get a little insight into where you were when you wrote that book.
Is this for me or Dan?
No, for you, Myles.
Okay. I mean, again, man, I've been fortunate, and my dad was a big influence in my life in regards to integrity, principle, order, things of that nature. And so, I've been fortunate. I have two sons. They're highly successful young men. They're millionaires in their own right. One's an attorney. He has law offices in 5 states. He's in Illinois, Miami. Uh, has 4 or 5 offices in Denver. And my other son is an internet marketing guy. And again, I think as they saw me work hard. Again, Dan, back to those moments, it was long days from 7 a.m. and I might roll in at midnight or whatever. I'm out there trying to get it in. And through that example, I tried to instill in those guys that, uh, like, I used to talk to my son, again, a lot of people, you look at, we take an example, we see somebody on television or we see a athlete or something. I mean, but there's so many avenues, like I used to say, you can be a baller without actually being a baller, right?
Yeah.
You can have those things in life. You don't necessarily have to be an athlete. You have to have a plan. You have to work hard, and there's so many opportunities. And so as those guys, I try to as the harder I work, once you worked harder, the revenue started coming in. And it wasn't about, oh, I'm trying to figure out this dollar here, what I'm gonna make. And once I provided services, everything else just kind of fell in line. I would get clients, people would come looking for me to do business with me. And so it was all about establishing, being an example to those guys and what was within me. And so again, going back to, I think success is informing. I think there's a lot of things that you have to pour into. It's not easy. Like I always tell people, if you do what's easy, your life will be hard. If you do what's hard, your life can be easy, right? So whatever you pour into it, and again, not just selling. Sometimes we sell because sometimes we don't think we deserve certain things, and so by reaching out, extending yourself, we have to get used to be uncomfortable, and that's like you say, that was one of the process I took. You have to be uncomfortable because without change, there's no growth. So if I'm
Yeah.
doing the same thing, then I'm going to keep getting the same results. So I was always open to change, always open for knowledge, always looking forward, not looking backwards, and always believing in myself. So that set forth the kingmaker, you know.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, man, that's just absolutely awesome. When I think about it, do you think if you didn't have the children, you had your boys looking up at you, if you didn't have the boys, did you think you still would have that same impulse to get back to the youth? Or was that?
Well, I would think so. I mean, I came from a big family, but again, I think also we need to find out as individuals our why. What makes us get up in the morning? What burns us inside? And again, once you figure out your purpose of being, you can follow with your direction of fortitude. Once you figure out what it is my purpose here, now I can formulate direction. I can formulate plans. Now I can kind of navigate towards that. So once you figure that out, everything should just kind of fall into place. Now that I have my passion, and again, that was part of my passion for us, my sons having an opportunity. Like in the book, my dad, he never dreamed of being a big fish, and so my idea was not me, but my son or his offspring could possibly ram up to those levels that maybe my father or other people around didn't have those opportunities. So that was another part of the journey, the drive, the determination.
Wow.
Man, I love it. And talking a little bit about that, now that you brought it up, Myles, figure out your why. What is your why? What was your why that you didn't just settle for being with IBM and where everybody else would think that it's great? What was your why to go off on your own and do the things that you've done?
I mean, I really think that again, it was just about I grew up as a young man, and I always felt like if anybody could do it, I could do it. It was something in me that just said, we all as men or people, in this world, we all have opportunities and we have choices, right? And so we have to understand not making a choice is a choice. And I think
Wow.
I always felt like, man, it's something better out there. I can keep driving and just having this something in the back of me said, Miles, you got to go for it. Always early on, I always had dreams and I always figured that hard work and determination and again, and it's been a path, journey. Let's follow, uncommon as you guys
Yeah.
put it, and it's a road that a lot of people don't travel down. But I always felt it, and I just continued through that path, man. Because again, I just always felt I wanted to make a difference, not only in my lives to those around me. I wanted to be, positive influence or just whatever I could do to. If I couldn't build you up, I definitely didn't want to break you down.
Man, I love it. There's a couple great nuggets that I took out of that, and I truly believe that one of the most common traits in people that are successful is what you just talked about, that they believe that they could do it.
Mhm.
I don't know why for myself. There wasn't anything special growing up or nothing that special
Mm-hmm.
about me or anything like that. But when I started business on my own, I truly 100% believed that I
Mm-hmm.
would be successful even before I knew how.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people that I've talked to, and I've seen this with my own eyes, the people that I've worked with, the ones that I've really seen make it, I could listen to them talk, and I would just say to myself, man, this guy really believes he's going to be successful, and I love that. And another thing that you talked a little bit about, and something that I've always kind of been drawn to also is just the adding value. I liked what you
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, that you just kind of figured that if I can add enough value, business is
Mm-hmm.
going to come.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And that's something also I think that you mentioned the same thing. A lot of times people are too focused on selling and what's in it for me, instead of
Mm-hmm.
focusing on, I wouldn't say 100%, but I
Mm-hmm.
really think if people will step back on trying to make a sell
Mm-hmm.
and show people the value that you're bringing them and
Mm-hmm.
what's
Right.
in it for them, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it turns into a whole new ball game, and that's exactly what happens is you add value to people and you never have to worry about business, because they're people
Exactly.
commonly will tell people about
Mm-hmm.
something that somebody that they met that liked, that provided a service or a product that they liked. And so I really think that if you truly care about the people and serve the people,
Mm-hmm.
um, the the income will come. And so I asked you about the why, because it was something when I first got started in business, and the type of business that I started, it was direct sales or network marketing. And so one of the things that they always ask you is your why, and I just ignored it. I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
stupid. Well, the why, because I want to make money. Okay, the why because of this, the why because of that. And then when I really started thinking about it, and when
Mm-hmm.
things started to get a little bit difficult, I literally sat down and I thought to myself for literally hours, brainstorming,
Mm-hmm.
why am I truly in this? Because I
Okay.
wasn't having any success, Myles. I was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I was having those talks every couple months of, can I do this? Those doubts that kind of creep into
Mm-hmm.
your mind. And I finally one night I went through it, brainstorming, writing things down. And I said, you know what? The reason I want to do this is I always want to work for passion, never for a wage. I don't
Mm-hmm.
ever want to go show up to a job that I hate just to
Exactly.
get a paycheck. And so
Exactly
I
right.
thought that if and I got started when I was 18 years old. So this is probably, between 20 and 21, two and a
Mm-hmm.
half, 3 years into the business. And I'm still kind of saying, man, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to work. And then I said, man, I have about another year and a half before I
Mm-hmm.
graduate from college when the real world hits. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? When now
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm
Yeah.
going to be expected to go get a job, to go do this. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just dreading the thought of, okay, I graduated. Now what? Now I go find a
Now
job that I'm
what?
not going to like.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Exactly.
really was that driving factor
Mm-hmm.
that I would literally read that every single day. And I had it on my mirror. I kept it in my wallet. I kept it in my car. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just that I always want to work for passion, never for a
Exactly.
wage. And so I just thought it was interesting that you kind of talked a little bit about the why. I
Mm-hmm.
also thought that it was interesting that you talked about belief. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if every single person. I think everybody has kind of a different why, but I do think that mindset of believing that if somebody can do it, then I can do it, and
Exactly
especially
right.
in business,
Exactly
and
right.
and I also love what you said. I want to bring back, because I thought about it many times. When I was young, all I really wanted to do was be a professional athlete. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and first wanted to play football, then wanted to play hockey. Then was just like, man, is there anything that then I went to kind of golf. I was like, is there anything that I'm good enough at to make a living? But then I started to see that vision
Uh-huh.
that you mentioned a little bit. And it's like, man, you don't have to be a professional athlete. You don't have to be somebody like that to
True
live the
success.
life, to
Exactly.
make the money, to have the
Exactly.
car, to travel,
Exactly.
to do those things. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are just some nuggets that you talked that I just wanted to reiterate,
Yeah.
because I think it's important that people understand those things.
I agree. You made a valid, great point there. Exactly. It's so many opportunities, so many ways, and so why would we just limit ourselves to just like you say those? Because again, there's greatness within each one of us. Every one of us, we have greatness. It's
I
up
love
to us to pull it out. It's up for us to, not go to our deathbed with all these great ideas, all these things that, again, just, hey, at least at the end of the day, I tell myself, Miles, life, don't get cheated, Miles. Give it all you got. I mean, for all you guys that's under 50 out there, Warren Buffett didn't make his first million until he was well over 50. So you guys are still on point, man. You're on track, man. So Clavon, you
it.
right there, bro.
Hey,
Man,
Miles.
I love it. It's really interesting how many people that we view as ultra successful didn't
Right.
have that success until their late 40s to 50s. Some even
Exactly.
some even didn't have the success until their 70s or 80s. I don't remember the exact story,
Yeah.
the exact age, but I think it was J.C. Penney
I
who ended
so
up becoming multi-millionaire, was kind of a serial entrepreneurial. Everybody saying, man, you're crazy, because he's always doing these ideas and trying. And I think when he started J.C. Penney's, I don't remember his exact age, but I do that it
yep.
was maybe over 70 years old. So,
Exactly right. Yes.
but many other stories like that
Yeah.
that are incredible. Clavon, let's go.
Yeah, I wanted
Uh,
to ask Miles. I know where you want to take it, big bro. I just want to ask him the top question, and I'll let you run with the other pillars because it has to do with how I was able to meet Miles. And Miles, the uncommon movement stands on like five major pillars
Hmm.
as a mission statement, a philosophy, a game plan that that Dan put together, and it's so powerful. And that first pillar is this idea of health and wellness.
Hmm.
Now, we want to be an inspiration to move males. I mean, everyone can get into the top 1%. And of course, we have a category of details that would make you in the top 1%. And that's always, you know, flexible and able to be interchangeable. But the
Hmm.
bottom line is this: when I met you, and every time I see you, you are working out. You're telling me about your health. You're telling me about fitness and how important it
Hmm.
is. Can you share from someone who has become uncommon, gotten to the 1% as it pertains to business and entrepreneurship
Mhm.
and success, and how you weigh that against the priority of your health and how much that means to you.
Well, man, it's for me, it's very important because again, I think it goes back to within. We have this vessel, and we have all this information out here that's telling us, certain things, you can do to make sure that your vessel is running and operating, at a high level. And so I think we just take it for granted that, again, I'm at the point where I'm mindfulness, and when I wake up, I'm glad I can hear. I hear the street lights. I'm glad I can see, and all these things we just take for granted. Like, I'll just share with you guys. I had hip replacement here recently, and I told my son, I said, man, last week was the first time I was able to put my sock on without having pain, and that's the last 10 years. It's been 10 years, and I'm sure you guys put your sock on all the time. It's just that that's how important that we take it for granted, right? I was like 10 years I haven't been able to put my sock on, not flinching or whatever, and so right now that's why it's so important that I'm looking at all these things that you talk about, what we're putting in, what we're putting in our body, getting rest. Like Clavon was like, man, the moon's at 9. I said, Myles, normally at 8 o'clock I'm in meditation. I'm bringing it down for the day. I'm stretching and just trying to get prepared mentally, physically. And so again, thank you guys. But it's so important that as we get older, or we want to participate in it. For me, the biggest thing is I've worked hard, right, to get to a certain place. And so it behooves me to take care of my body and my vessel so I can be around, I can see some of these things that, I still dream about, fruition, family, friends, and just like this moment we're sharing tonight. And so it's important that, without health, again, the question I think, then you ask people, I mean, if you said, say, God, if I gave you $100 million and you had to die tomorrow, which one you going to take? I'm gonna take my health, right? So again, money is not even in the top four, right? We got health, we got time, we got relationship. Money is way down on the list for me. So health is by far, without it, it just, life itself. So I try to make sure I'm doing what I can.
And what,
None of us are exempt from life and things that happen, illness,
Right.
things that happen. So I always tell people all the time, why not me? There's things out here. Why not? So I prepare my mindset because I'm not exempt for all the things that life comes at us with. So I'm trying to do what I can to assist myself and be in a situation where I can have some longevity in my life.
and Myles, if I may, before I pass it over to Dan, if I could ask you uh, a little more personal, what does your health regimen, look like as far as diet and
Mm-hmm.
exercise? I mean, I always see, walking and doing things like that. Can you
Uh-huh.
give us a little insight of what your program process is on a morning and evening?
Okay. Well, here recently, man, I've kind of been doing some research, and I found that I try to get up early. I was getting up at 6, which I thought was early, but now I'm to the point where I'm trying to get up at 5, just preparing myself for the day. And I'm finding out by getting up that extra hour early, it changes my whole day. It because I don't feel like I'm rushed. I feel like I give myself ample time to kind of prepare for the day. I try to just take some deep breaths, be thankful. First thing I do, I'm thanking that I was able to get up, say the light, all those, just being grateful that I had this opportunity for a new day. And so then, I start hydrating my body. I drink some water and then just kind of try to stretch and keep moving, So the idea, again, is just try to stay moving. And again, it doesn't have to be dramatic approach. Some people, I got a hard regimen. I try to get some weights in maybe a couple times a week. But again, the most important thing is, getting up, stretching, walking is one of those things that it's, it's proven. If you read about it, the benefits of just walking 30 minutes and actually being outside in nature and how it just slows down the mind. The mind is so complicated, and the meditation piece that I'm learning is just turning it off and just, zoning in on my body and how I'm feeling. And I feel better. It just makes me have more energy and, give me that drive that I need to kind of get me through and move forward every day.
Awesome. That is awesome, brother.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Myles, you know what? I love it. I love that concept of what you talked about, that $1 million morning. And there's so many people that don't really ever think about it. Just
Hmm.
there's literally millions and millions or tens of millions of people that would just love to wake up one more day, because you never know when that last day is going to be. So,
Yeah,
I love that
true.
idea. I love that concept of waking up and being grateful
Exactly.
just for waking up, if nothing else.
Exactly.
We all have that to
Hmm.
be grateful for. And again, there are 5 key pillars that we're trying to help people become successful in. Really, 2 main things.
Hmm.
The second one is finances, but
Hmm.
not just income from a job. What we're
Hmm.
talking about is residual income,
Hmm.
so that you have control of your time. Because you mentioned it, you said, income's maybe not even in the top 4. You have
Hmm.
your health, you have your time, you have your relationships, you have other things like that, and then income is somewhere
Hmm.
after that. And so that's why we're so passionate about residual income and not just income from a job, because there's
Hmm.
several jobs that pay a good wage that can allow you to have a nice house and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
they typically come with a lot of stress, a lot of
Hmm.
pressure, a lot of competition, and
Hmm.
makes it more difficult to keep those relationships intact, because you're
Hmm.
working a ton of hours, you're high stress. And if
Hmm.
you want to, like, kind of like the perfect storm for killing relationships,
Hmm.
add a lot of stress, add a lot of
Hmm.
work, add a lot of time away from the family, and stuff like that. There's a lot of very successful, very wealthy people that can't
Hmm.
keep relationships together because they're giving all that up,
That's
chasing that
true.
dollar, and then at the end of the
Mm.
day, they're like, man, why bother? I lost everything that I ever wanted
Exactly.
by chasing
Hmm.
this. So I like those concepts that you talked about,
Hmm.
and that's why we're so passionate about giving
Hmm.
people, explaining to people
Hmm.
what leverage is, explaining to people what residual income is,
Hmm. Hmm.
and showing them how they can get that. And I've always said, my every company I've ever started, I've always basically said my vision is to teach you how to make a full-time income in your spare time, so
That's
that
the
you can
key.
spend your full time doing whatever it is that you love. And
That's
that
the
can
key.
come from mostly only from leverage. And
Hmm.
so you mentioned a little bit, how old was you when you first you mentioned getting into the real estate.
Uh-huh.
So obviously that's getting into, some
Hmm.
sort of investing and stuff like that. What age was
Hmm.
that?
Well, it's yeah. I was, man. Like I said, I always had that spirit, man. When I graduated high school, I was kind of like didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go. So when I ended up getting into a junior college, and I was working at the post office. I was 18 years old, working at the post office back in when making $15 an hour. So you know what I did? I kind of strapped down and I would work at the post office at night. I would go to school in the morning. And so when I got to 20, I was surrounded around some old individuals that were, talking about real estate. And so that spawned me on, again, the people that was around me. And so when I was like 21 years old, I decided to go get my real estate license. I decided to work for somebody, and so I put together as much money as I could at the time, and I educated myself about an FHA loan, which was a 3% loan, and so at that time I was able to buy a 4 unit building based on FHA requirements, and so that propelled me into it by just getting my real estate license. It saved me money and it allowed me to get that four unit. But again, it was just about looking at things like, seeing people around me do those things. I'm like, okay, I can do this too, So
That's incredible, and it kind of
yeah.
moves us to the next part, which is personal development.
Hmm.
And I've heard this saying quite often is, if you've meet somebody's, closest 5 acquaintances, that
Uh-huh.
person's going to be the 6th. You know what I mean? So
I've heard that here recently. Yeah.
kind of like whoever they're hanging
Uh-huh.
out with. So I caught what you were saying there, that you were kind of hanging out with some people that were talking about real estate, that were talking about
Uh-huh.
some different things. And so you started to think, well, geez, maybe I should figure that out. And then you
Exactly.
go real
Yeah.
estate license
Exactly.
and stuff like that. Is there anything else that you've done or worked on for personal development? You've said many things on this. I talked a little bit about things that
Uh-huh.
I believe that you may
Uh-huh.
have thought about or been into,
Uh-huh.
manifesting a little bit.
Yes.
The
Uh-huh.
mindset you've talked about,
Uh-huh.
um, that you did mention, the people that you was
Uh-huh.
hanging around with,
Uh-huh.
those different types of things. Is there anything in particular, any books, any people that you follow, any kind of clues that you would give in that personal development of what somebody should read, what your thoughts are on that routine?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. Back to that one point you were making about the residual income, and it's me and my brothers had that conversation here this prior weekend, and so he was talking about for us getting out of debt, and so I told him, I say here's the thing, uh, I say we have to be conscious of our words and what we use. So instead of saying debt, say financial freedom, right? So now you got a different mindset. So debt is just debt. What we really want is financial freedom. So if so you can, so don't get stuck on people. Oh man, I'm waiting till I get out of debt or I got to pay my bills. No, no, you got to look at it in a different mindset. Look at, I'm trying to move towards financial freedom. And again, the key is, like you say, when financial freedom is when you can make money when you're sleeping, and that's the key.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys are going. But for me, back to I try to listen to, I listen to, Les Brown, all kind of speakers, motivational speakers that, I constantly on YouTube, and I soak it in all day. I just try to fill myself up. I'm working during the day. I'll listen to some, guys, don't give up, and your mindset, and for as just have this light and energy, because I think it's so important that that energy, that light that you have within you or within us, that you draw on that, and you just have positive affirmations right around you all the time, constantly, just always, what I can do, instead of, I'll try, me and my son, we don't say I'll try. You say I'm going to do this, and so it's just all about getting that mindset, being around. And again, I try to read books. Right now, I'm reading one book. It's The Power of Now.
Oh,
So it
wow.
talks about now, and so many people I know, they stuck in the past, right? And the past is undefeated. You can't beat the past, and we're not promised the future, right? So it's those little things that you do in the moment, right? And it's all we have to. It's part of a process, and I always use process. I use journey, learning, those types of things, because again, success is not a destination. It's a journey, right? We're moving down a path, and we choose our path, and by choices and decisions we make, that ultimately leads us to where we're going. So I'm so strong on dreaming, and making sure we understand we make a choice. When you don't make a choice, you're making a choice. And so
Yeah,
you got
I've
that
heard
mindset,
that a couple
you,
times.
you,
Yeah.
you have to realize that, by choosing not to educate myself, choosing not to take care of myself, you are making a choice, So it's just, it's for me, it's all about having that mindset and the right people around me that encourage me, that uplift me. Anything that's negative, I try to, hey, I don't need that energy. So I try to focus in on those individuals, those people around me, and that information that's coming into me, positive. That's so important to me on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
I love that. Is there anything that you do? I know a lot of people, and I did this for years. I'd read a book, I'd say, man, that was good, and then I would just move on doing the same thing that I was already doing. I'd read another book, and I'd be like,
Mhm.
man, that's a good point, that's a good point,
Uh,
and I'd just go on to do what I was doing. And I finally got to the
yeah,
point that I'm like,
yeah,
man, this really isn't doing me any good if
Uh-huh.
I don't make the change that the book's talked about. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
literally, when somebody would recommend a book like
Uh-huh.
The Power of Now or something like that,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would either not read it or I would
Uh-huh.
make a decision. If I'm going to read it,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to find at least a couple points and implement
Okay.
it into my daily activities. Is
Uh-huh.
there anything
Uh-huh.
that you did or that you think about that went
Uh-huh.
from just reading, just from listening to Les Brown, just from listening to,
Uh-huh.
probably Zig Ziglar and Dennis
Okay.
Waitley and Brian
Yeah.
Tracy and
Uh-huh.
Tom Hopkins and,
All those
Jim
guys.
Rohn and all those people
Uh-huh.
that a lot of us have, Tony Robbins, a lot of us have listened to those people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but there becomes a difference of listening to them
Uh-huh.
and actually putting it into action, what they're
Yeah.
saying or what you're reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And the key for me is that I journal all the time. I have a daily journal. I have multiple journals because I track myself biweekly, financially, monthly, yearly. And so when I journal, okay, Myles, in 2023, I go back to a snapshot. 2024, I go to a snapshot. Okay. And again, sometimes you accomplish your goals, sometimes you don't accomplish all of them. But at least I keep them on the list. So I try to make sure that I'm journaling and I'm trying to make sure that I'm making some type of progress because again, you can have all that information, but again, until you can, take some data and place it in a place where you can kind of go take a look at it and say, okay, this is where I am now. You made that point then. It's not where I've been, it's where I am now. I always tell people it's not where you start, it's where you finish, right? So I always try to, take that information and say, okay, maybe I need to do something a little better to move me in the direction, move the dial on, on that particular, it's whether it's finances or, moving towards financial freedom or, being able to, make a difference in somebody's life or however I can try to help someone out. And again, obviously, we still, we're not exempt from life. Things happen, right? So
Right, for
sometimes we
sure.
get off track, but the
Well, Miles,
idea is to journal.
that's super interesting. This is our fifth episode, but the first
Okay.
one we did just the two of us
Okay.
to go. So we've had four guests. You're
Okay.
the third guest that's talked about journaling.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Clavon? Have you noticed that also?
Wow.
I sure did. I sure
Okay.
did. And Dan said, after a while, you're going to see a pattern. You're going to see
Yeah.
what successful, uncommon men, what their habits are and what they do.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was very interesting to me. I've never been much of a journaler, and one of our other guests talked about it, and I've just never done it. I remember maybe in grade school, we had one of our grade school teachers, maybe fourth or fifth grade,
Right.
that they every morning when we'd get to class, they'd have us write in our journal. That's
Okay.
literally in my life. I'm almost 50 now. The only time I've ever journaled. But I've been meeting and talking to so many successful people, literally just lately, that talked about the importance of journaling. And one, ultra successful person that I was talking to made comment that, one of the things that they did recently is they went back to their journals because they've been somebody that's been a avid journal taker for the last, for basically forever, for maybe the last 40, 50 years.
Wow.
They went back to when they were having their biggest success, their biggest hit ever.
Okay.
Started reading their journal entries from that time.
Okay.
And then they started to realize that, man, I'm not even on the right track. Meaning
Wow.
they're thinking that they're doing everything that they've always done. And this is somebody who's very successful.
Yeah.
Thinking that they're doing the same thing that they did the whole time.
Okay.
Now they go back to the best years that they ever had in business, start reading their journals, and realize that, man, I'm not even close to doing what I was doing. And as soon as I had that conversation, I thought, man, that makes so much sense. I rely way too much on my memory.
Okay.
I've been blessed and lucky to have a good memory, but man, I could think that I would love to go back at different things that I did and read what I was thinking, how it worked, what didn't work. And so I love that concept of journaling, and it's something that I started doing recently. I wanted to get into an exact morning routine as often as I could. And I've done very well when I'm at home, at the office, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more difficult to do it perfectly traveling. That's something that I still need to
Yeah, that's a challenge.
work on. But I remember that I added meditation
Okay.
and manifestation to it. And it was
Okay.
crazy, like within the first couple weeks, how many great ideas started to come to me.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, same day, I'd be thinking, man, what was I thinking this morning when I was meditating? And I already forgot. And so now I have a little
Okay.
journal right next to the place that I do my meditation. And as soon as I'm done, I just write down everything that I thought of, that I thought about, all the ideas that came to me, all the challenges, because several things come to me. Sometimes it's the stressors that I have in my life, and the things that you're kind of worried about. A lot of that is followed by a solution or something that I should do, or kind of a way out of it. And so I just think that was super interesting, that literally you're only the fourth guest that we've had on, and yet three of them have talked about journaling. And again, I don't think every single person, I've had a decent amount of success and haven't been a big journaler, but it will be interesting to see how many people are, because I think that you just kind of meet the right people at the right time, and that kind of provide you with some of the information of what you need to do to go next level.
Yeah.
And maybe for me it's journaling, because it keeps on coming up, not only on the podcast but other people that I'm talking about. So if anybody is a big journaler that's listening to the podcast, make sure and comment. And if you're not, why don't you start today and see how that goes, and see if that just these little changes. A book that I love is called The Slight Edge, and I think so much of success isn't like massive differences. It's just constantly doing a couple things different, and tweaking this and tweaking that. It's not necessarily like so glaring that everybody's like, oh wow, I didn't realize that I should be doing that. Most of the time we somewhat realize what we need to be doing, and we're just not doing it. But there's also so many just little things that make the difference between just doing okay and going to the ultra success level. So that's very interesting. I love that.
Yes, I agree. Creating that space, the journal, creating that space, so all these other information, and now, like you say, you coming up with all these ideas. Once we create that space within, now you can allow more stuff to come in. Now you get creative, and all other things that come with it.
Sure. Hey, Myles, we're getting close to that time, and this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm sitting here listening, to both of you masterminds. It's just I just feel spoiled to be able to just be here week and listen to Dan and listen to our guests. But I just want to, quickly ask you just two quick questions, and whatever Dan may have to close out. As we talk about, our 5 pillars, I wanted to ask you, what is your theory on, giving back, once you have reached a certain level of success? And I know, I see it through your book, obviously just being an example, but are there any other things that you're doing? I mean, because, I remember listening to Dan say, it's not about bragging. It's about, you let people know what you're doing. It may inspire others to do the same. That's why we want to put stuff out there. How important is giving back? And, are there some things that, you do, you're proud of, and that maybe we can learn from?
Well, yeah, again, the thought about giving back, man, people will be so amazed, man. Your hands are so tight, you can't let nothing in, and so when I realized the more I gave, man, those little the more I reached out and tried to help people, things would just come my way. I would get a check in the mail. It was just all kind of crazy thing. When you just stop and thinking about you, and you really try to reach out and help, your family, friends, and the more I give, just the energy comes back to you. And so I've been fortunate and blessed to be able to just, some people, again, they fit like holding on to it, but that's not life, right? That's not the way we want to operate, right? We want to be able to give naturally. it's in us to give.
Right.
And so right now, again, I've had a chance to meet up with you guys, and this has been a great experience. And so my idea was, getting the book off the ground, and again, I want to get into make a difference. I've been invited to a couple schools to go talk about my experience professionally, but again, I just think that uh, I missed the mark, and maybe I can learn from you guys because again, I felt the younger kids were more focusing on the car I drove, the clothes, and how I got the money. But it's again, I wanted to get them to understand it's a process. You got to work hard, and so I would really like to get into that space a little more. I mean, actually, just getting out, talking to people, letting them know that you can make a difference, man, and it just kind of starts within the mindset you have because the more people like you, the more people will be willing to help you. So once you realize you start helping yourself, other people's join in. They feel that energy, and they vested in seeing you succeed. So I think once we can get that message like you guys are trying to do, get people to understand. Hey, you got to take on these 5 principles, and again, it's no easy way about it.
Right.
But again, you one brick at a time, right? One day at a time, one instance at a time, one gesture at a time. And if you look up, you can build upon that. So again, my idea is to kind of be around positive energy. When I met you, Clavon, I felt that energy, and so the idea of me being here is because I wanted to connect up with people that were doing some of those things and realize that at the end of the day, it's about, again, success. Those people you've made a difference in their life for the better, right? You never know words and things that you share with somebody that just might uplift them and say, you know what, man, I wasn't going, I wasn't going, go to that. I'm gonna give you guys one story. When I got recruited by IBM, it was a rainy day, and I went into this auditorium with all these people, and I'm like, Myles, you don't fit in. This. What are you doing here, man? And so, just by the grace of God, I put a resume down, and I left out of there. And next thing you know, I got a call from IBM, Myles Johnson. We're going to fly you to Seattle. We're going to fly you to DC. And it was just the fact that I just went there, and I was in there 5 minutes, and I laid a resume down on a table. It changed my life. Little things like that. And if you can get people to understand, all it takes is one spark to light a fire, and just things that you do and say. I wasn't nothing extra about me. It's just that I that day I thought of getting up, going out there, and and even though I felt like man, I'm not. These guys all look professional. They were in the shooting ties and had the briefcases, and I was a young guy. I'm like, man, nobody, and it changed my life. And so we have to look at those things and like, man, something like that happened to this guy. It can happen to me too. So that's
That's
what gives me that fire and passion, man. You know.
that's awesome, man. That's a great,
Yeah.
great story, brother.
Yeah.
Uh, if I may, I want to, close out my question, or just where you just kind of threw the alley oop. The whole IBM concept. Let's call it technology, if we could.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
know you're going in the IT space to do things with your own companies, and so I want to ask you, your view, just your view, not so
Mm-hmm.
much specifically all the knowledge you have on our product, but just your view on AI, technology, as it
Mm-hmm.
is sweeping the world. We kind of believe that in the next year or two, every
Mm-hmm.
household in the world
Mm-hmm.
will be paying some form of subscription
Mm-hmm.
for a strong AI product to add value
Exactly.
to their
Exactly.
life. Yeah. So from your expertise in that space,
Uh,
what do you think about this AI, movement?
Man, I think it's tremendous opportunity. Again, when you guys brought up that concept to me, you know, I went and did some research myself, and I think in regards to AI, I think a lot of people when they hear that term, it makes you think above, right, above my head, or but once I think once people understand, it's funny that my son sent me a picture of an old IBM computer yesterday. It's like, man, this is where you used to work, the floppy disk and all that crap. And my grandson then was like, so I think with AI just being so new that it is, I think we got to get people to understand that a tremendous opportunity. When I came up, the information superhighway was just getting started, right? And so AI is kind of in that same breath boat.
Yeah.
But I think what we got to do is realize that it's so many aspects of AI. I think we got to do a better job of educating people what is AI. It doesn't have to be a tremendous calculation that runs on a nuclear submarine. It could be just I've been incorporating AI now to I'm responding to emails or whatever I'm doing now. I'm trying to incorporate AI a little more into my daily life and trying to take advantage of some of the things that again that allow me to focus on time on other things where I can turn it over to AI. So I think AI is a tremendous platform and space to be in as we go forward.
Awesome. Awesome. What you got, Dan, as we get ready to close out? This has been powerful, powerful information. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no question. Really, just Myles, I want to thank you so much for your time. I think you gave us a lot of great nuggets, a lot of great clues. One thing that I would like to definitely before we end, Kingmaker, where can people get that?
You know what? I'm in the process of getting that on Amazon, and actually, I'm trying to work with a company I found online to make it into an Audible book. So more to come for you guys once I get it. I mean, I'll be willing to order some for you guys, Clavon and Dan, and just give them out to you guys. This wasn't something that I initially thought of as a revenue stream. It was more so a dream of mine. I always had my dad. We always had a dream about writing a book. So I had an opportunity to make that dream come true. And so the idea is just to be able to share some of the experiences that I had. But I would definitely work on getting that out to you guys and making it available.
Awesome. So as soon as that's available on Amazon or any other source, Myles, make sure to let myself or Clavon know. We'll let everybody know. We'll get you some good book reviewers to give out some reviews and some information on the book. We're excited to learn more about it. And I really think that if we didn't name it the Uncommon Movement, Kingsmakers or Kingmakers, a close one, if I would have thought about that. I love the concept.
I love Uncommon, though.
Yeah. And that's really what this is all about. I love what you talked about, giving back. Just so many things that have just been kind of just like the same things that I think, you're talking the same thing. And so I just love that. And I found that most people that become successful, one of the things you said very early on in this podcast is just the vision of helping others. Mm-hmm. And, you get joy in helping others. Mm-hmm. And that's really become one of my passions. I used to get excited about buying a new car, about getting that goal, that thing that I had, that financial income. And now that I've had a lot of that stuff, it really doesn't excite me very much. Mm-hmm. I get way more excited when somebody that I'm working with goes and gets a new car, goes and gets something that they've been, pushing for and driving for, because I'm not saying I didn't like it when I got the new car. I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I was excited about it, but I realized that it's so much more fulfilling to help somebody else have those same feelings of excitement, have those feelings of being proud of themselves, of accomplishment. And that's really what drives me probably more than anything. It's just the fact of helping people realize who they are.
Exactly.
Think about that,
Oh, that's
helping people realize what they're capable of.
Exactly.
How many times do you think, who am I? Mm-hmm. Who is Myles Johnson? Who is Dan Putnam?
Exactly right.
Who is Clavon?
Exactly right.
And again, if anybody has the right to make X amount of income, why don't I have the right to make X amount of income?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I think that once we realize who we are, what we're capable of, and then we can find the mentors and the people to guide us, I think that we can make a big difference. And that's really what this is all about, It's about taking the information that I've learned over the last 30 plus years of grinding in the field, and my learning, probably one of my favorite sayings: I win or I learn.
I love it.
You think you win or you lose, but
But
you
no,
only lose if you didn't learn anything from it. If
exactly.
you learned, then you didn't lose. And so I just love that concept that I win or I learn. I've had a lot of times that I won. I've had a lot more times that I learned. And now what I'm passionate about is taking what I've learned and showing others, because here's what I'll end it on, Clavon, before, if anything comes to your mind that you want to say to close. But right now, we're just finishing up 2023, rolling into 2024. In 2024, 2023, there is no reason that anybody should have to grind for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to figure out how to be successful.
Right.
There's so many clues right now. There's so much technology available right now. Social media giving you literally billions of people around the world at your fingertips for free. And so many people have created business ideas and concepts that they've made literally tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, or even billions of dollars
Exactly.
without spending any money at all.
Exactly.
And so there's so many clues, there's so many ideas, there's so much opportunity that there really is no need to sit there and grind and struggle. Even if I go back to when I got started in 1993, early 93, the internet was barely coming out. Nobody had cell phones. Nobody had computers. Nobody had emails. The only way we could get information to people is send it in the mail, and it's going to take 5, 6, 7 days. The world is so different just in the last 30 years. The opportunity that's available is so different, and that's really what our vision is to show people, hey, if you want to try and figure every single thing out on your own, you might grind for 5, 10, 15 years. But if you want to take an easier road, you find out all of the things that we already know that work and just duplicate those. And so, Myles, I have really enjoyed the last hour and 10 or 12 minutes that we've been talking to you. I really appreciate your time on this Monday evening. And Clavon, thanks for setting this up. And hopefully all of our viewers that are watching this live or watch it later on Facebook or YouTube, get some of the same things out of it that I got out of it. But I'm like you, Clavon. For me, I want to get as much information out as I possibly can, but also there's the selfish part of me that I just want to keep doing this podcast to learn. I definitely do some things and not only learn new things, but kind of ingrained some other things that I already had been thinking about and had thought about in the past. And it just kind of that confirmation or that reconfirming of some of these. Anyways, thank you so much, Myles. And
thank you guys, man. I appreciate it, man.
To close it out.
Myles, it was awesome, man. This was a true inspiration. I just want to close out, let everyone know, Uncommon is a movement. It is a movement. And, Mr. Dan Putnam's accessible through all of his social media handles. I'm accessible. If you're curious, just leave a message. And we'll fulfill that curiosity, because this is a movement based on success and empowerment. And I'm fired up about it. Hey guys, like the broadcast and share it if you're on our social media outlets. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and just be a part of the community. We're going to keep bringing the fire. Hey, Myles, any last words that you want to leave us with?
Hey, thank you guys. Keep doing what you guys doing. And hey, nothing but light at the end of the tunnel, guys. Great job.
Thanks so much, Myles.
Stick around for 30 seconds, Myles, as we
Okay.
podcast. Hey, guys, thank you. Another episode of Uncommon Men. We came, we saw, we conquered.
Okay. All right, great job.